hit the road. My heartbeat was drumming, but my head's in the zone. Now hearts may be broken, and tears they may fall, but after decades of hoping, it's nice to be here at all. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just believe until we have to go home.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome back to another Euro Breakfast. One or two slight audio issues, so bear with us, we're just working through them. But let me introduce my guest this morning to, let's just say, two very tired England fans, given that all they've done the last 10 hours is listen to Is Coming Home on repeat. So firstly, the very freshly rebranded Mr. Does TV. How are you doing, my friend?
I am so excited to be here. I can hear myself. I'm sorry for everybody who can hear me.
And just below him on your screen there, I am delighted for the first time on the Euro Breakfast to be joined by a fellow partner on the Twitch Sports scheme, Mr. Viking Dan. How are you, Dan?
I'm alright. I'm a bit tender. But, I'm here. At 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I don't think I've ever been awake at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
My bad. Sorry about that. In the house of Echo Mal, I'm aware we're trying to work our way through the audio at the minute. Give us just 2 seconds as we.
Hopefully, things are set up okay. It turns out it is me, but I've no idea why, because this is fine in every walk of life I've ever used this. Is it still being a bit weird?
Myself and does an echo.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Unless you might be kind of heading it back twice, if that makes sense, and it's coming through. But we will plough on. We'll work it out as we go, because professional streamers here, obviously. So let's start with yesterday's games. We'll start actually with the first game yesterday. We'll get to England-Ukraine shortly, but the first one was a cakewalk for Denmark, I thought. The Czechs, despite the fact they had a good kind of 10-15 minute spell at the start of the second half, they had loads of possession, peppered balls in, but the Danes never really looked in danger in this one, and they were relatively comfortable the whole way through, I thought.
I fully agree with that. I think 100% it's a bit of a walk in the park. The key thing for me, I think, was even at 2-1, I think they only had one real chance, the free kick or the cross that came in, and Kasper Schmeichel takes it off the attacker's head. Other than that, I think Denmark were in total control.
I think to solve the echo, I'm just going to have to manually mute Dan every time he's not talking, but we'll sort it that way, because at least that gets rid of it. Dan, what were your thoughts?
Kind of the same. I think Denmark have, obviously they had that horrible first game situation, which was it was horrible to see them have to play out the game in the same day. They've grown into the tournament. I thought they were unlucky against Belgium. They obviously battered Russia. They scored 4 goals back to back in the next couple of games, and they're a very strong side. They're a team that I think, as an England fan, I'm a little bit wary of facing them. Like you look at them front to back, they've got very good players from defense to attack. They've got players who can change the games. They've got different kinds of forwards who can cause you different kinds of problems. They're a really good side, and they've got one of the in Mela on that left wing back role. They've got one of the standout performers in the tournament.
Yeah, I was a bit concerned, not just from a fantasy team because I've got Mela in it, but when he went down injured, and it did not look good at all, but he came back and he seems all right. So fingers crossed. This is from a neutral perspective, by the way. This isn't from a let's hope England lose perspective. But he's been one of the players of the tournament with Spinazzola, I think, and it's weird that 2 left wing backs have really shown so far in this one. But what were your kind of thoughts there, Does, in terms of who's shown for you in the Denmark team and who are you concerned about going into that semi?
I mean, Dolberg, obviously, he's on. He's a great striker. I mean, obviously, he's football manager players. We've known about him for a few seasons, but in real life, he's doing the business. I'll be honest with you, we should be beating him. And I know this sounds really blasé or whatever, and the English arrogance and all that stuff, but I think Denmark getting through to the semi-finals is an amazing story. It's an amazing story, and I'm so happy we're there. I'm so happy they're there. They deserve to be there after everything they've been through. But like they've got a standout left back in Marla. We've got a standout left back in Luke Shaw, and Luke Shaw is absolutely doing the business. What's he got? Got 3 assists, I think, in the tournament so far. Created the most chances for England. Bear in mind, this time last year, he probably wouldn't have gone to the tournament. This year, he's probably one of the players of the tournament, I'd say. So Denmark have got Dolberg. They have got some players. Kasper Schmeichel's a very good goalkeeper. Probably one of the best goalkeepers, not at the top clubs. And that's no disrespect to Leicester. But I would expect, I really would expect England to be.
Oh, that was loud. Ginge, thank you very much for the resub. Don't know if you guys could hear that, or if it's just me in a fight. But getting kind of into Denmark a wee bit more there as well. I've seen a couple of people mention there, Dan, about the first goal, because obviously it wasn't a corner. I don't really think that impacted the whole game, though, did it? Because on the balance of play, I still feel that the Danes were going to take that and run with it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the first goal, it's one of those things that, like, in isolation, you think, oh, well, it's a corner that's ended up that way. But they scored from it, and it did change the balance of play. They obviously went on and scored the second goal, but it's a tough one with those kind of decisions, and it's one of those things that it's been a rarity at these tournaments. I think like things like VAR and the looking at decisions after the fact have been really good in this tournament. It's actually like one of the best examples of the use of VAR that I've seen. I think it's been implemented really, really well. It's a shame to see that happen. But like I say, it shouldn't have happened, but it did, and they took advantage of it. They got the goal, they got the second goal. I kind of feel sorry for the Czechs because they really, like, that second half, the first part of the second half, they were the dominant side.
Yeah.
And maybe if it was only a 1-goal lead that the Danes had, it could have been a different story. But it's kind of like crying over spilt milk at this point, isn't it? Like, there's not a whole lot you can do with it. I completely understand if you're a Czech or you're a Czech fan, or you were supporting the Czechs, that you're going to feel hard done by. But it's just one of those things, yeah. It's unfortunate, but I think, like you say, on the balance of play over the game, I think the Danes had the better of it. I think the Czechs actually had more shots and stuff, but I think actually watching the game, I mean, from my perspective, I only really saw the second half. I was in work for the first half, so I only really sat down properly and watched the second half of the game. But even then, even though they had that early second half dominance, it still felt like the Danes were in control, and the Danes still created chances and could have actually had another goal or two.
I'm going to actually switch up the way this is looking because I feel bad for covering your face, Dan, every time a message comes on the screen. So there you go. You can see
I was very rough this morning. Feel free to cover me up.
He's quite happy to do that. But yeah, I guess in terms of the Czechs, they were exactly what we expected. They were kind of stout enough. They gave a decent showing, but they'll be happy with where they've got to, I think, the quarterfinals. And it just didn't happen for them on the day. We'll get onto this obviously with the England game as well, but poor defending of set pieces. Just, it's criminal at this level. You're always going to get punished, and that's ultimately what did them in the end.
Yeah, I think they could be happy with their tournament. You know, they've got some of the moments of the tournament. Schick with the halfway line goal against Scotland. Sorry, Mozza. And then having Schick as their top goal scorer. I think they've had some great moments, to be fair, in the tournament, and they can be proud of themselves. Ultimately, okay, Denmark is a winnable game. They knocked out Holland, Netherlands, sorry, one of the favourites. pretty easily as well. Losing to Denmark. You know what I mean? You go into it, it's a 50-50 game. Denmark are probably slight favourites, and they succumb to that.
Do you have any fears, both of you, going into this semi-final about what you've seen from Denmark so far?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So no one dancing, yes, that's a good start.
Well, like I was saying earlier, I think it's a team that on paper England should be like, I don't want to say dominant, but like on paper we've got the better squad. Got the players that play at a higher level, and I think we've just got better players. But Denmark have shown in this tournament that they're not a pushover. They do have a really good side. You look at their spine, you've got Schmeichel, you've got Simon Kjær, you've got Højbjerg and Delaney in midfield, who are both kind of elite players. You've got players at the top who are scoring goals, who can stretch the game, who can pull you wide, pull you out of position, score goals. You've got you got a Champions League winner in Andreas Christensen. You've got one of the standout players, like I was saying earlier, in Mæhle on the left wing. They've got a very good squad, and it's one of those squads that they can win. They can win any game on their day. And I think, like, whilst England should be looking to win and should be reticent to say confident of a win, but should be looking to kind of take the game to them and win the game, it's a team that can hit you and they can take advantage and they can win a game. They could beat anyone on their day. As much of that's a footballing faux pas, but it's true. They've got some fantastic players, and I think it's not over yet. We're not in the final yet. It's the easier side of the draw. I kind of cringe to say that a little bit, but it's still not an easy game.
Yeah, that's the first of many football cliches over these 2 hours, by the way. So, Campbell, we have not talked about Dan's 4-0 bet yet, so I feel like it has to be brought up. For anyone that isn't aware, Dan thought he was on a winner because he'd put a bet on 4-0 as a correct score last night in the England game. Yeah. Do you want to explain what happened?
Well, basically, like I was saying earlier, I was working yesterday, and I just jumped on the Bet365 app. Not sponsored, sorry. Gamble responsibly. And I just thought, 4-0, that's a bit of a, I think it's going to happen. So I just clicked 4-0. It's like, those odds are very good. Just put I had a few quid sat in the account. That'll do. Didn't look at it until the hour had gone in the game yesterday, and then realised I put the 4-0 on the Ukraine. So yeah,
I feel really bad. I'm not going to lie. It's some call to go for 4-0. Like, that's just unbelievable scenes. But
honestly, I didn't even think that we were going to score 4 goals because, as England have looked solid in this tournament so far, but we've hardly been like prolific in front of goal. Harry Kane turned up, and that made a difference. So, for the first time in this tournament. So, I'm trying not to think about it too much. So, thanks for chatting.
Apologies for bringing it up. Yeah, blame Campbell.
It'd be even worse. It'd be even worse if he already spent the grand that he was meant to win. Yeah, I mean, like, whoa!
He's already got your graphics card, and
it's all right. My bank would have firmly stopped me from doing that.
But let's move on to, I suspect, what we're going to spend most time talking about. Ukraine, England. In the end, it was pretty routine, but I think it's hard to think of another knockout game in an international tournament. Limo, thank you very much for the submit. But it's hard to think of another knockout game that there's been worse set-piece defending that I've ever seen. They were just so flat-footed. It was almost like they just didn't know what to do. And England, to their credit, were giving them too much to think about from corners. Like, Maguire was just all over the shop. So it wasn't your simple runs they were making. They were crossing over. They were putting almost like the American football style patterns that Southgate's relied on. That you get guys queuing up and branching off into different directions. And it just absolutely killed the Ukrainians in the end.
I mean, 2018, our strength was our set pieces. And set pieces is what got us through to the semi-finals. So far this tournament, they haven't come out to play up until yesterday. So, if anything, as a very proud Englishman, I did notice the fact that these hadn't come through, and the fact that they are now starting to work again. You know, 2 of our goals came from set pieces. I'm. It fills me with confidence because if everything, England seemed to be growing.
Yeah.
England seems to be growing, and yes, we can talk about Ukraine and their defending, but ultimately, I think that's because of the plan of the set pieces, and that's why they were so flat-footed as well. England are growing, and Maguire's header and Henderson's header. If we can carry on with that, it's another tool to our arsenal, and it's really exciting the fact that everything's kind of gelling together at the right time in a tournament. You know, I'm a bit older than everybody in here. I've mentioned the fact that I've seen many tournaments since 1990. My earliest memory was World Cup 1990. For the first time, we're going in the right direction in the tournament, and we're getting better as the tournament goes on. I couldn't say the same in 2018. I feel like we kind of doggedly got through to that semi-final. But this time we're actually playing decent football as the tournament goes on.
Yeah, Scoop's mentioning there, and you've already touched on him. Does being a Man U man, obviously, the show was outstanding last night. He just gets better and better. The same as, I hate to say this, and I'm potentially getting a lynching from a home crowd here, but England have that look of the team that are getting in form and getting together at the right time to win this tournament. And there always seems to be a team that starts not necessarily slow, but they're not that spectacular. They're just grinding it out, and then they hit their stride just when the semi-finals and the finals roll around. And it gives me a bit of fear. I'm not going to lie. What do you reckon, Dan?
Yeah, basically what you said there. It seems like yesterday or last night was the first time that England have kicked up into that final gear where we've looked solid and got the goal that we needed up until now. Yesterday, it kind of kicked on a little bit. I was saying to Diz kind of very briefly before, Sancho's quite good, isn't he? Just like committing players and beating players and making people like fearful on the other flank, which is something that we've not really had up until this point. Obviously, we've had Raheem Sterling, who's been committing people and doing that same kind of thing, but to have it from both sides, it makes you fearful on both of your flanks, and you need to almost double up on them. And that just freed up extra players in midfield. As you said, Shaw had a stormer of a game, and he's been a player that's been growing into the game and kind of finding that next level game on game. A couple of assists last night. He obviously had a big play in both of the goals the other night. He looks like a player who's more confident in himself, affecting the game, taking the game to people, and also being pretty solid defensively as well, which is something that is, you know, a criticism of his game. As we go further into the tournament, and hopefully if we get past Denmark, he's obviously going to have people that he's going to have to defend well against and attack well against there. If we can get past them, he's going to have a big game against either the Italians or the Spanish. But he looks like a player who's taken the reins of the game, taken the responsibility, and gone, we don't need Chilwell. I'm your guy. Because there was a big kind of toss-up as to who's going to be starting there at in the first game, and neither of them started in the first game. Mm-hmm. But since then, he's gone, no, I'm the left back. You don't need anyone else. Like I'm gonna give you the attacking output. I'm going to be defensively solid. And he's a guy that's really kind of stepped up and shown his quality, which is something that we've seen. Me myself as a Man United fan as well. Over the last kind of 18 months, he's done the same at United.
So I'll let Diz take this one because there has been a question in the chat about Sancho. And you're a man that waxes lyrical, shall we say, about Jadon. Nothing to do with the fact he's coming to you boys, obviously, but he's
coming on as well.
Why has he not played up to this point, do we think? Why now has Southgate decided to unleash him? And to be fair, he looked very, very good last night.
So I'm going to say something about Jadon. I've known about Jadon Sancho for 3 years, maybe 4 years. I think maybe when he made his debut for Borussia Dortmund. I follow Borussia Dortmund. They're like my second team. They're like my favourite team in Germany. I've always been infatuated with them, the whole yellow wall thing. And I've done some research on him and all that kind of stuff. The reason why he probably hasn't played is because we've got an embarrassment of riches in those positions. You can literally play Foden, Grealish, Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho. And whilst they are all different types of players, they will offer you something in those positions. Okay, Phil Foden is very technical, very skillful, not as much pace, but he's got an eye for a ball. Grealish, similar to Foden. Then you've got Sterling, Rashford, and Sancho, and they're probably fighting for one position as of before yesterday, because I think Raheem Sterling wins that every day of the week, and I'll tell you why. Because Gareth Southgate trusts him.
Yeah.
His movement out of those three is the best. And I think our attack relies on that movement. So whilst I've said this throughout the whole tournament, on the ball at times during this tournament, especially during the group stages, Sterling wasn't very good. Off the ball, he was elite. And ultimately, his off the ball movement is what got him in those positions to be in the penalty area. And I'm not sure other strike or Rashford or Sancho would probably be there. Sancho probably would be, to be fair, but you know, he's had this big transfer going on in the background. You know, he wanted to go to Manchester United last year. It didn't happen. Okay. He's now eventually it's happened. I think just that seed of doubt. You know, you've wanted something for over a year. You want to come back home, in essence. And whilst he loves Borussia Dortmund, he wants to take that next step. He's very single-minded. He's Jadon Sancho. He wants success. You know, he left London to go to Watford at a very young age. At 15 years old, he left Watford to go to Manchester City. At 17 years old, Manchester City offered him a £30,000 a week contract. Pep did not want to lose him. They offered him a £30,000 a week contract. He said, nah, I want first team football, not the contract. And he went to Germany, which at the time was unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. He's then bossed it in Germany, and now he's going to a big club. No offense to Borussia Dortmund, but he's always wanted to play at that top tier club. And he sees Manchester United as his future. You know, he's very single-minded in what he wants in success. So I think maybe that kind of uncertainty about is he going to be at Man United next season? Is he going to come back home? Probably would have affected him. It would affect anybody. But ultimately, I think yesterday what you saw was a little preview. And Sancho is ahead of the England team. You could see some of his runs that weren't being picked out. You could see him running forward, running back, running forward. But he was doing a bit of everything. Short, long, running at him, passing, laying the ball off, movement, coming inside, going outside. Trust me, within the next 2 years, and I'll wax lyrical about this, he will be one of the best players in the world. I genuinely believe that. His intelligence is next level, and his drive is also of a similar ilk.
Yeah, I think in a way it's actually worked out for United waiting a year to get him, hasn't it? Because they've saved, was it somewhere between 20 and 30 million they've saved?
35, I think it is, something along those lines. They wanted 120 million euros last season. Which was £108 million, but I think it's ended up, 72.9 million, which Man United are paying over 5 seasons, so £14 million a season. I'm not being funny, that's a bargain.
Yeah, that's old Football Manager style, just get over as many years as possible.
Edward Wood's been watching.
But yeah, you mentioned Sterling there. I've got to say, I think he's finally getting the credit he deserves. He's always had a rough go of things with England for some reason, but I think it's easy for like people that might not look at the game in too much depth. It's easy for them to say he misses chances, and that's kind of the be all and end all. And they'll only see he's kind of like he is slack in possession sometimes, as you mentioned, but off the ball he needs to play for England to work in this style, especially when it's 5 at the back, not 4 at the back. But he's been fantastic this tournament. I think arguably Sterling's been England's player of the tournament so far.
In terms of return, yeah. In terms of return, obviously he scored a few goals. He got an assist yesterday. But like you said, like Des was just saying, that the way he moves, the way he creates space, not only for himself, but with his movement, creates space for other people. He's always going to have that. He's always going to have that work rate and the ability to kind of open up channels on the pitch. The only thing is, like you just said, literally, like sometimes his final ball, his delivery, his finish isn't perfect. But the last couple of games, he's grown into it. He's looking like he's playing a player in form. Southgate stuck with him because he trusts him, and he's repaying him now. Like I say, assist yesterday. He's got was it 3 goals in the last 4 games? He's been the guy that's kind of been making the difference in the attack. And that movement yesterday was what was opening things up for players like Kane and Mount, who kind of got lost a little bit in the game. Just looking at his stats, and he was still massively influential. For a player that didn't seem to have the best of games, still had a very good game. But yeah, Sterling's just one of those players that even I always like players that even when they're not on the top of their game, you're still getting something good out of them. And Sterling is he's good at the high press. He plays in that Man City side where they want to win the ball back in the first few seconds. He's good at the movement. He's good at creating chances for either directly or indirectly for his teammates.
Yeah.
So like any play like that is always going to be one of the first names on the team sheet. And even though I think, I'd have loved to have seen wingers of Sancho and Rashford, or seen, Grealish in the side or whatever. If you don't have Sterling in this team, you lose so much about how England attack and how the movements, how the freedom's made for other players and for himself, just because of his actual in-game intelligence.
I think one of the major plus points for England going into these last couple of games, obviously if they get through the semi, is the amount of rotation that's happened. Southgate has managed that squad fantastically, and it's Italy did rest a lot of players in their third group game, but other than that, there's not been too much rotation. The same with Denmark. There's not been too many changes. They had to win their third game in the group, so they've just gone the whole way through. Southgate has picked a different team and a different style pretty much for every opponent, and it's probably going to leave the squad fresher than the rest. So do you think that's going to play into things in the semis and then potentially a final as well?
I mean, we're blessed. Like, I've never seen an England team that is this blessed. I'd say the biggest drop-off from first-team player is probably Dominic Calvert-Lewin to Harry Kane. Obviously, Harry Kane being a world-class striker, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin being good. He's a good hand, to use a wrestling term, but he's not a world-class striker. But I think anywhere else, the centre of the park, you could put Henderson and Bellingham in there. Different types of players, but still quality players. You've got Rashford on the bench. You've got Sancho, who hasn't started. You've got Grealish. You've got Foden on the right-back position. I mean, much was said about it. We've got three of them. Harry Maguire and John Stones have really turned up this tournament as well. Tyrone Mings has done well when he's in there. Luke Shaw, Ben Chilwell. We are blessed. We are in a situation, and once again, I don't mean to throw my age into it again, but the fact I've been to many tournaments as a fan, and I've seen many tournaments, this is the best English squad there has ever been. And the fact is, there's still players coming through.
If you're not going to win it now, then when, is what I would say. Because everything is set up beautifully for England in this tournament. And to be fair, it doesn't look like this squad's capable of an Iceland or those kind of games in the past where they didn't have the concentration, they just thought the game was won. I don't see that in this squad of players. There's a different determination about this team, that one goal wasn't enough for them last night, 2 goals wasn't enough. They wanted to go and basically have fun. That's the main thing. They seem to be enjoying themselves at the same time as doing the job. There's not really any kind of stress or nervousness you're seeing through that starting 11, no matter which team gets selected by Southgate. So I peg them as joint favourites with Italy now. I think that's probably the likely final. We'll get into the quarterfinals previously just shortly, but do we see a world in which that doesn't happen here?
I think in England's side of the past, like you say, there's always been that nervousness and always a likelihood to kind of cock it up. Like that would have happened against Germany. And honestly, like even if the Germany game went the way it did, England teams of the past would have found a way to screw up last night. But they've not. What they did is they had a really professional performance. They looked solid, but also creative. They had an out ball. They had opportunities to score even more goals, to be honest. And a 4-0 win was emphatic. Even though there was a couple of shaky moments, it didn't actually pay off for Ukraine, and it was just a thoroughly professional performance. And I think the makeup of the squad is, you look through the squad, 1 to 26, and it's a young squad. There's not a lot of those players who are old England, where there is that kind of mentality of is it going to go wrong? It's when it's going to go wrong. When are we going to mess this up? There's not a lot of players that are kind of like a hangover from those. There's been a full turnover. There's a lot of young and confident players there, and I think just players who, this squad can carry into the World Cup and maybe the next Euros, because everyone's of that kind of like early to mid-20s age. So it's a squad that can be together for a long time. And as said before, as they said, like there's more players coming through. You look at players like who have had standout seasons this year. Mason Greenwood's been brilliant for the last 2 seasons. Didn't even get in the squad. So in terms of having options and players coming through, I think Ben White's going to be a big player in the next few years. I think he's a fantastic defender. And it looks like he's going to be moving to one of the top 6 this season. So maybe that'll just be more eyes on him, another development path. And I can see him being a big discussion for that central defensive part. And obviously, like, you know, you're going to have players growing into and improving over the next couple of years. There's so many really Sancho. He's still really young. He's going to improve. You got players like Phil Foden, who is already a wonderful player. He's going to get better, and seeing players like that with space to grow and room to improve. Declan Rice is the same. I think Declan Rice is wildly underrated. I love that guy. It's just like this core of players who are already very important to England have still got development to improve. This isn't players at their peak. This is a team that can get better, and hopefully will.
Right, we'll come back to England at some point in this 2 hours, no doubt. But let's look at the previous day's quarterfinals quickly as well. Initially, we had Spain barely overcoming the Swiss, and that's a couple of times now that Spain's been dragged through to extra time. They've not looked fantastic. They're probably going to be quite tired compared to the other teams that are left in this tournament, and they just don't really have a cutting edge up front. I'm not going to go back into Morata because I've said enough over the past couple of weeks about him. He's not a finisher. Moreno, it turns out, isn't a finisher, and I thought he was. And then the chances he spurned. So the thing is, they're still dangerous. They've still got quality in all the positions in the pitch, but they're just not really shown as a cohesive unit. I don't feel like the same way that previous Spain teams have, and I just don't see them beating Italy. But I actually thought the Swiss were really unlucky in the end.
Yeah, I get what you mean about Spain. The thing is, when they want to turn it on, they can. I mean, they did score 10 goals in 2 games previous to this. It was against Slovakia and I believe it was Croatia.
Yeah.
And Croatia are no slouches. Yeah, I kind of understand what you mean. I do. It's the defense to me surprises me because with Laporte and Pau Torres, who we've heard loads of, linked to Manchester United, they are vulnerable there. Going forward, they seem pretty hit and miss, to be fair. They seem pretty hit and miss. It's probably the most inconsistent team left in the tournament. Like, you don't know what you're going to get in relation to Spain. You say, can they get through Italy? I think Italy have been the most consistent tournament. So what happens when the most consistent team meets the least consistent team left in the tournament is the least consistent team wins and goes through to the final.
That's the thing, anyone can win on any given day, and Spain have clearly got the quality to do so, but at least shown against Austria that they're not necessarily going to be on their game every single time in this knockout stage. So obviously there's still plenty to play for in this one. But what are your thoughts on Spain here, Dan? Because on another day, I think the Swiss knocked them out. Everything went against Switzerland in the end.
Yeah, the 1-1 was, I don't know if it was a fair result on the day. The Swiss were great, and the Swiss have been great so far in the tournament. Jan Sommer had an outstanding game. He was like a brick wall in that goal. Spain did have chances to finish the game off and probably should have done. And they have got some wonderful players. I am batty about Pedri. I think he's just a wonderful player. I can't believe the guy's only 18. He looks like he's been doing it for years. He looks, I hate to say it, but he's a bit Iniesta-ish, and I loved Iniesta. Yeah, so the game, like, Spain should have been more comfortable. And I think that's the story of their tournament, really. They should have done better in every game. They've created chances. They've not finished them. They've had a lot of errors that have cost them goals. If it clicks with Spain, they could score a lot of goals. They're obviously it's Spain. They've got a load of really talented technical players, possession-wise and in possession of the ball. They're great. Like, they create openings, they create overloads, they create space for themselves. It's just in that final third, they've not been great, and defensively they've been shaky in pretty much every game they've played. But if it clicks for them, they've got the players to take advantage of that possession, of that creativity. And I think it's going to be a great game, the Italy-Spain game, because Italy have been, I think, other than England, like the standout team. They've got a great squad. You saw it with the changes they made the other day. They were bringing off players, and there was no dropping quality, kind of like England were doing. You're changing the players, and there's no dropping quality. They've just got 26 players who are fantastic.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who plays; they're always going to be at the top level. And they have been the most consistent team in the tournament for me. Italy, great defensively. Losing Spinazzola is going to be massive for them because he's a big way in the they've played. It's going to be interesting to see how they adapt and change. Whether they're going to bring Emerson in and play the same way, or they're going to try and change it and like kind of reverse it and change the point of attack. So that's going to be big for them. But I think that is going to be the tie of. I say that Denmark England's going to be great, but I think like that's just going to be an interesting game because they're both obviously teams with an incredibly high ceiling in terms of their performance, and hopefully they both hit it, and we just have a fantastic game.
It's probably a good time to get into that quarter final, the Belgium-Italy game, because I think that's the only kind of real match-up of the quarters that was potential winner v potential winner for me. And Italy managed it so well. We know what Belgium are capable of, even if De Bruyne wasn't fully fit. He still had a great influence in the game, but you could tell he just wasn't quite like 100%. He wasn't really all there. Lukaku gave them issues from time to time, but there's something about that Italian squad that they manage games so well, just like the old Italy sides. The difference being they're a lot more positive in the way they play, and they will take advantage of mistakes. They're not like the classic Catenaccio style. They're not going to just sit back on a lead and say, right, go and beat us. They will take advantage and they'll get 2 or 3 goals ahead. So it's really interesting to see how that game goes, the Italy-Spain game. I'm going to put my neck out and say that I fancy Italy to give them a bit of a pasting, to be honest. But
it's a very exciting Italy team. Very few Italian teams have played this kind of football. And you know what? They've still been defensively solid. In 5 games, they've scored 11 goals. They've conceded 2. And bear in mind, their defence is largely made up of Bonucci, Acerbi, and Chiellini. Chiellini and Bonucci, when they played, the total age is over 70 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still going. So the fact that Italy are so solid at the back and then so exciting going forward does bode well. Like Dan says, the loss of their midfielder is going to be huge for them. Hopefully they can recover from that. I do see them going through to the final. They've been the best team in the tournament. They really have. There's no other. They've been the most consistent. Sorry, Spinazzola. Sorry, I had a mind blank there. They've been the best team in the tournament, and England only really turned up yesterday. When you talk about control of a game, playing the whole game, playing the game their way, etc., etc. Even the Germany game that we controlled, we were very good, but we didn't really blast them away. Italy, I think, have been consistently doing that. They've looked really exciting throughout the whole time. And then you've got some great managers. And I think 3, I'm not sure about Denmark's manager, but I do know that you've got Roberto Mancini, Luis Enrique, and Gareth Southgate, all former players. Obviously having different degrees of success in their careers. But surely that's helping them in relation to in-game management and understanding what's happening in the situation and what is required to get the best out of that current situation.
I'm pretty sure Denmark's manager used to be a player as well. I'm not sure what level though. I just I vaguely remember a throwaway bit of commentary talking about a past career. Probably because I've muted a lot of the commentary since it's been through this tournament. Let's not dwell on last night. Jermaine Genius, stick to the one show, mate. That's what I would say. But yeah, the thing with Italy's defence with Bonucci and Chiellini, and even when you throw in a Cherby in there as well, all of these guys know each other so well. They've been in squads, less so with Acerbi. He's only been in the squad more recently, but with Bonucci and Chiellini, they know everything about each other. They're the perfect tandem in centre defence. and their reading of the game is so good that they get away with not having the pace. They've never really had the pace of those two, so it's not like there's a massive drop off physically with their age. So you'd think that potentially a Sterling could have success against Italy. If you're looking at Spain, maybe a Ferran Torres would be that guy that if he can get in behind, there could be success to be had. But no one's really managed it yet with Italy. There's still quite a high defensive line, so it'll be interesting to see with Spinazzola out now. If Emerson going in weakens them in defence, potentially there could be a chance to get down the right wing and get balls across. Well, like, do you think that's going to be a major issue there, Dan? That Spinazzola obviously has been one of the players of the tournament, and now they're relying on a Chelsea backup who's not really been getting many games.
Yeah, and it really depends on how they're going to line up, whether they are going to bring Emerson in, or they could maybe move Di Lorenzo over to the left and change the point of attack and change kind of like they've been very left side kind of attacking, like they've kind of like swung the team around to the left side. Obviously, Spinazzola was getting really high up the pitch. He was one of the highest players at the pitch for most of their attacking moves. Whether they're going to change that and try and get someone doing the same thing on the right hand side, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that. But yeah, like just going back to the defensive partnership, like those two, it's all well and good saying, "Oh well, we can run at them," but like you've got to get past them, and they're so good that they're experienced and they are elite level defenders and have been for a long time. Just the way that they defend is wonderful. It's like it's kind of like the old school of this Italy side. Mm-hmm. Like when you think defense first, like they are elite defenders, even at the age they are. And obviously they're really tidy in possession as well. And you've got like a really good midfield in front. Like Borré is fantastic. Jorginho's had a really good tournament. Like, and he had a very good season last year as well. I think you're starting to see the Jorginho that we saw at Napoli. And then they've just got they've got Verratti in there. But like I was saying earlier, they've just got options. They've got players who can come in and change games, or kind of like for like changes that, you know, you had players who've had standout games and then being benched the next game. It's been really interesting. I think that they've got like a similar thing to England, where it doesn't matter which players you put out there, they're all really good, and like it just changes the dynamic of how they play. Like you were saying, like getting some pace at that back line, that's the one thing that Belgium had with Doku, who that's the first time I've really seen him play. He's good. he's very good, isn't he? I think that guy has got a glittering career ahead of him. But like every time it took them 40 minutes to get the ball to him, and then when they got the ball into his feet, he won him a penalty. And then that whole second half, he was the guy that was getting at people, beating people, committing people. Couldn't get past Bonucci and Chiellini, but he looked like the guy that could get them back into the game. It was a disappointing performance from Belgium, and one of my mates is Belgian, and I was talking to him about it, and it was just shocking defensive errors.
Yeah.
Like that first goal, what was going through Vertonghen's mind when he thinks, I know what I'll do. I'll dribble the ball out under a counter press with no defenders behind me. I can't even quantify that. Same with the second goal. It's like there's three defenders there, one man run going off. Why isn't one of them at least going towards the ball? Mm-hmm. And it's just obviously it's a really low percentage shot, and it was a wonderful finish, but he shouldn't be having that shot. And other than that, there was a couple of chances, but Belgium had their chances, and I think as good as Italy have been and looked in that game, there were still opportunities for Belgium to get back in it, and it was goals that were given to them rather than things where they really shredded people to, they didn't pull Belgium apart. Even though they got a weak backline, they didn't pull them apart, which was strange for me because they've been one of the more impressive teams in the tournament, and I think it just shows that they're not quite. Whilst they've been good, they're not quite as good as I think they've been. Like I think there's a couple of false performances in there. There's some performances that haven't been quite as good as it seemed. Like I say, the Belgium game on a different day, De Bruyne has a little bit of a better touch because I don't think I've ever seen De Bruyne give the ball away as much as he did the other day.
Yeah.
And he finds those passes. I think Lukaku finishes the chances that he had. Like he could have had a hat trick. He should have had a hat trick, and that's changed the game completely. But like I say, like Italy have got a really strong squad, and they have the quality there to see the game out and kind of control the game to the finish. And when you've got a back pair of Bonucci and Chiellini, you know you've got a solid kind of rock to build from. And Donnarumma, who's a ridiculously good goalie as well. So like scoring against them isn't easy, as Belgium showed. But also it's, you know, with the attacking talent they've got, they can hurt you in a myriad of ways. They're similar to Spain for me. They've performed at a higher level in Spain. Like what they've done has come off better.
Yeah.
But there's still, like, whilst they've got a really strong squad, there's still little kind of gaps. Like Immobile, even though he scored, hasn't looked like the elite striker. I mean, neither had Kane up until yesterday, but like, there's still like little gaps in performances and little things here and there. But they're my favourite to get through, get past Spain, and kind of. I don't think they'll quite give them a pasting like you do, but I think they've got the strength and depth and quality to change the game and come away with a win.
Yeah, I tend to talk
about Denmark in the final probably.
I get too excited, so that's just me. You can kind of slightly ignore that. Donnarumma, as Danny Murphy famously said, "Oh, he looks quite a decent keeper." Apparently, he's not aware of the existence of Italian football. But yeah, you made a couple of good points there, Dan. I think the thing with Italy, and I've seen people mention it in the chat, they have used 24 or 25 of the squads, mostly because that third group game they totally rotated the whole team out. Generally, I think they've now settled on their 11. It looks like Verratti ahead of Locatelli is the way they're going to go, despite the fact Locatelli was outstanding when he was playing. I think Immobile is going to stay in the squad, even though he's not really kind of motoring. He's got a goal here and there, but he's just not really. I don't know. Sometimes he's looked a bit uncomfortable. I've felt that you can tell he's desperate to get another goal. The same way Harry Kane was trying too hard, in a way, that he was doing things that weren't his natural game. But now you saw last night, the second goal summed him up. Just that tiny little step away from the defender, so subtle, but it looks like he's in oceans of space because of it. And suddenly, it's in the back of the net. You know, that's Harry Kane, and that's what Immobile needs. He needs just a goal or two to get him kind of comfortable, I guess is a word. But I guess final word just before we move on, Diz, on Italy. Do you see a weakness in them?
Yeah, they're strikers. I do think, but they don't need their strikers to score. Can we just be clear on that? Like, I don't think they've got. You just hit the nail on the head with Immobile. They scored 2 goals in the first 2 games, hasn't scored since. So, you know, compare that to Harry Kane, didn't score in the first few games, now has scored 2 games in a row. You know, Immobile seems to be going the opposite way. I'd say that is their number one weakness, but they don't need him because they've got players like Chiesa, Locatelli who can step up. Verratti's been an absolute soldier, to be fair, in relation to bossing everything. They've got a lot of experience, and with that defensive pairing, they had to consider a goal in 10 games before the Euros. With that defensive pairing, like it kind of puts to bed the narrative of you need pace in your centre back pairing, because for so long we hear that all the time. And when Harry Maguire plays for Manchester United, we cuss him because he isn't quick enough, right? But then when he plays for England, you realise that and you see Chiellini and you see Bonucci, you realise that is a defeated argument already. Do Italy have enough to win it? Yeah, they've bossed the tournament. They've done really, really well. Do I see them winning it? No.
There's a bit of a wry smile coming on the face there.
They're the best team. Like I said, they're the most consistent team in the tournament. They are, and you know, Mancini knows how to win things. He's won a Premier League title before. He's won things before. You can't buy that winning mentality. And there's a lot of people in this team, in this Italian scene, who've won things as well. But the same can be said for the teams that are left, apart from maybe Denmark. I think only 3 of them have been at the top clubs. I'm excited. I'm excited to see Italy play Spain because I think Italy will beat them, and I think it won't take extra time or penalties, in my opinion. They want to get the job done.
Yeah, I think we'll get into semi-finals now, but we'll start just a couple of things to pick up for the chat there. If England go the whole tournament without conceding, is that a Euro record? I'm pretty sure it would be. Can't think of any team that's ever gone through without conceding a goal at all. Stand to be corrected by anyone in chat that can Google it right enough.
I think
That's the
Spain
thing.
won the World Cup, so I think Spain won the World Cup I think it was the South African one, 2010. I think they won it without conceding a goal.
Yeah, I think you may be right, actually. I don't think they did concede.
Yeah, I think they only scored 8 goals as well, by the way. So we talk about Dross football. Dross football wins you trophies. So if you're complaining about the way England were playing, as I was, you know what I mean. Let's just put a bit of a reality check on there.
Yeah, I suspect those voices will have died down by now, given that it's a semi-final on the way. And Keg, what was it you were saying there? Italy do sit high up the pitch for the defence. That's kind of what we were touching on there. Yeah, that there is potential to get behind, but nobody's managed it so far. So we'll see. We'll see if either Spain or Denmark or England in a potential final would be able to exploit it. The thing with Wembley is Wembley's got quite a big pitch, as well as something to consider. All these games now will be at Wembley, won't they? The semis and the finals. So there's going to be plenty of room for the flair players and the creative guys to really dominate these games, which can only be a good thing for the neutrals amongst us. This guy. Right, let's go semis then. Italy, Spain. We've touched quite a bit on what we've thought of them up to this point. These two matching up now, and I've kind of declared that I think Italy's going to smash them. I can't see past the way the Italians play that. I think it combats the Spanish really effectively, because the Italians, unlike what they used to do, they get a lot of possession now in the style they've got, but it's not just possession for the sake of possession that Spain do quite a lot. It's effective. Like, they move the ball back to front really quickly while still keeping quality possession. They don't give the ball away very much, and you wouldn't expect that when you've got the likes of Verratti in the centre mid. But I don't see Spain having a good time here. Is anyone going to convince me otherwise?
I'll let this go first, and then
Once again, Spain are inconsistent. So if they turn up with the team that scored 5 goals, a bit of luck on their side, it could happen. It could happen. I don't think Spain are incredibly weak. I just don't think they're exceptionally good.
Yeah.
And I think there's a massive difference in that. Like Ukraine, I thought were weak. So that these are the kind of levels we're going to. Can they beat Italy? The answer is yes. Do I think they will? The answer is no. I just genuinely think Italy have got too much. And like I say, you look at the form, you look at the whole tournament, I would be surprised if Italy are in the final. And I wouldn't have said this at the start, but as you see them play in the group games, as you see them continue, they've only conceded 2 goals. I think they've scored 11. 5 games so far. I can't see Spain beating them, but it doesn't mean that they won't.
On you go. I thought you were going to finish.
I was. I couldn't see Switzerland knocking out France, and I think these two are closer in ability.
Yeah. Is Spain's best chance just to kind of drag this through to extra time, do we think, Dan?
Not necessarily. Like I was saying earlier, they have got players who can make the difference. They can control a game. They can create chances, and they've got wonderful players. It's just they haven't turned up at the tournament so far. My worry is more at the back. They've already shown that they've got errors in them. It's a whichever partnership they go with, it's an untried. It's the polar opposite to Italy. This isn't centre backs who've been playing together on an international stage for the last 15 years. This is. Laporte is his 6th cap. He's not played, and whoever he goes next to is going to be a young, untested international defender. And they've already shown that they can make errors. They've shown that they will give you chances. And Italy, if anything, and as proven by the Belgian game, if you give them a chance, they're going to take it. They have been clinical at taking advantage of those mistakes, those defensive mistakes. And I think that's what the game's going to be won and lost on. I don't think Spain are going to have the luxury of taking it to extra time. I think they're going to have to win it in 90, or at least kind of have a really good performance to take it through to extra time. But I don't see this going extra time and penalties. I don't see them trying to draw it out and take it into extra time. I think that they're going to give Italy a chance to score goals. I think Italy are going to take them, and they're going to have to score a couple of goals to still be in the game, I think. And they've got the players to do it. We've got wonderful players. We've got a lot of players who are really comfortable on the ball and are very good at creating space. My worry is like we were saying earlier, the thing that could hurt Italy is pacing behind.
Yeah.
And other than Ferran Torres, there are a lot of face-up players, which is why I want to say that it's like players who like to get the ball in front of the defense and try and play through, rather than get the ball behind and run at people and run channels and run into space and that kind of stuff. There's not been a whole lot of that this tournament, and a lot of the players that are in the squad don't really play like that for their club sides. I think they're gonna have to pull out a good performance, because I think they are nailed on to concede. If you're ever going to put a both teams to score to bet on, this is the game for it. Because I think that they'll get goals as well. I just think Italy are going to score more. I think I could see a 3-1, 2-1, maybe something like that in this game, where Italy are just going to clinically take their chances, and Spain are going to spur a load of theirs, because they've just not been clinical enough so far this tournament.
I'm keeping a wee eye on. There's a poll in the chat. Someone started about who's winning it, so I'll keep an interested.
Coming on, boys.
Keep an interested eye to see if England's going to win that poll or not. They are at the moment. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I think there's going to be goals here, so there should be good entertainment on that side of things. I just, do you know, Spain miss a David Villa. They miss someone who is going to get, as we're saying here, just be direct and get at defences, get right in behind them as well. Even Torres, to a point, was that kind of striker that even though he'd kind of drift out to the wings, he would still be in behind for the long balls over the top if you needed to unlock a defence that way. Morata's not that kind of guy. He's a drop-off, like, kind of hover in the middle kind of player. Again, Moreno's not really that either. So I think Ferran Torres at a push would be able to do that, but he's more of a Raheem Sterling type that he needs to start deeper and make the runs in behind, and they don't really utilise him that way. So Jorginho's going to have a massive job in this game. I think that's going to be a big difference maker, because he's the shield for those two centre-backs. If they can find a way of pulling him left and right, maybe by giving him two players essentially in there in that area, is that the way to beat Italy here for Spain? I'll let you go first, Ash.
So I don't necessarily agree that Spain need an out-and-out striker. They invented the strikerless system like 10 years ago, and they won trophies with that. Granted, their quality of play was a lot better than Xavi and Iniesta, etc., etc. Alvaro Morata is the best they've got. He's a very good hold-up player, and he's very good at bringing others into the game. His finishing might have a lot to be desired, but he can score goals. And like I say, if he's on his day, there's no reason why he wouldn't. I do think he needs to drop off and bring Sarabia, potentially Torres, and Pedri, who's had a great game as well. I do think there are options there, basically, for them to win it. Alvaro Morata will have to drop deep, I think, and then it's who picks him up. But Italy are very disciplined. Verratti is one of the world's best central midfielders, probably the premier central midfielder, I'd suggest. If he was playing at Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Manchester City, you'd hear about him all the time. But because he plays for PSG, he's kind of out of sight, out of mind a little bit. So I do think that it will be that kind of who picks up Morata. I just don't think there's a way that Spain do beat Italy, though, within 90 minutes. If they beat them, it will be 120 minutes, and I think it will probably be penalties. What I will say is Enrique can be quite conservative. I know he won a treble with Barcelona, and at Barcelona, he didn't play necessarily the brand of football that Pep Guardiola played, which was half the criticism, which is probably most of the reason why he left the club, as well as absolutely peaking by winning the treble. You know, not many managers can say they've won that.
I think, Katie's got a good point in the chat there about Morata. He's very similar to Harry Kane in the way he plays, I think. But the difference being Harry Kane's world class, I don't think Morata is. Kane is much more likely to put the ball in the back of the net when he gets a half chance. Morata, even when he gets a full chance, isn't that likely at times to find the net. But as Diz says, if he hits a run, he is capable of getting on the old purple patch. I like that phrase. Like, if he gets a goal and then follows up with another one, he can suddenly go on a scoring run, and you never know. But he's not really threatened it yet in this tournament, is the only thing. So now would be a good time for him to do so. We'll finish it off kind of thinking on the Italy side of things. It looks like Verratti's getting an nod over Locatelli now. And it looks like Chiesa might be getting a nod over Berardi. Do you see any other changes other than the enforced one with Spinazzola there, Dan?
Chiesa was really impressive in the previous game, the round of 16. I don't think he had the best game the other day. But like I say, it's with Italy, it's like for like changes across the board. You bring one player out, you bring another in, and it's fantastic. They've got a lot of options. I think with Italy, there's a lot of like for like in terms of how they play, so they don't have to change their system much. Also, on the flip side of that, it also means there's not a way of changing the game too much.
Yeah.
Midfielders who come in who are kind of like box to box players, like you say, Locatelli can come in for Barea or Verratti. Verratti's like their standout player, I think. So I see him staying in the squad. But like you bring in Locatelli, and he's a similar kind of player to Barea. You bring Chiesa out, you can bring Berardi in. Like the similar kinds of players. Maybe Chiesa's got a little bit more pacing behind, but they play the game in a similar way. Whereas Spain have the same kind of thing. Like they bring a lot of players off, like they can do like for like changes, and it seems to be like a lot of players who are going to do a similar kind of thing. With the exception of the guy whose name's just completely escaped me, Adama Traore. With a guy like that who does have that express. Maybe this is the game for Traore to get into the Spain team. Like, you know, we saw how good Doku was at getting the ball and running at people, committing people, beating people for pace. He's the guy in that Spain squad who has that. Not that face-up player, not that player who's going to kind of like drop in front of a player and try and pass around them. He just likes running at people and committing people. So maybe this is the game for him. Maybe they'll look at that Belgium game and go, yeah, we've got a player who can do that, and we aren't going to give them the chances that they got against Belgium. Like, our defenders aren't that stupid. But like I say, other the enforced change to left back, who knows? For Italy, that is. I'm not sure. Like I say, I could see a few changes because they've got a really good squad. It's the same with England. Like we've not lined up the same twice because the players that we bring in are really good, and it's a slightly different dynamic to the squad. I think you're probably going to see a similar lineup. Maybe Chiesa drops out, and obviously Spinazzola is going to have to come out. But it's that seems to be their settled lineup. Di Lorenzo at right back's been very good. I thought Barea had a fantastic game. A player that I've not watched a whole lot of. I was very impressed with him the other day. Jorginho, we know what we're getting with him. You know, just the metronome in midfield. And Verratti as well, who I think goes a little under the radar for the work that he puts in midfield. Like my perception of him from not watching, because I don't watch a lot of league on football. So what I've seen of him in the Champions League or internationally, I've always just thought of him as like that kind of silky passer. You know, you're going to carry him in defense. He's not. Like, he works really hard for the team. He presses really high. He's great at those kind of defensive third pressures. Looking into deep diving into the stats of him, like those pressures that he puts on the defense to make mistakes, he's great at. And then if he gets the ball in the final third, who's better to have the ball at their feet than a guy who can put it on a sixpence for someone? So I think he's nailed on to be in there. And they seem to be kind of growing into the tournament and growing into form as well. As impressive as they've been improving. I think, as we said earlier, the worry might just be strikers. Like, you've got Immobile, who is a really good forward. He's not at the level of the other strikers who are left in the tournament, I don't think. He could be a weak link. But who comes in? Is it Belotti, who's flat to deceive on an international level? Whilst he's good domestically, he's never really done it at the elite level.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the one part of their squad where they're lacking a little bit. And obviously Spinazzola has been one of the standouts of the tournament. Missing him is going to be huge for him. it's going to be that's going to be the most interesting thing for me, is seeing how they handle that. Because not only has he been great in attack, he's been great in defense. Don't forget, he was the guy that got the block for that Lukaku open goal, essentially. He kept it out with his arse. It was fantastic. Wonderful piece of defending.
Like back in the day.
Yeah. You'd love to see it. So him missing will be massive for the Italians, and I wonder whether that's going to be not only playing on their mind just because he's a fantastic player, but also like, you know, whether it's going to be a bit of a morale sapper for them, like, because like he's one of their big guys. Obviously, like everyone's going to hate to see one of their mates get a big injury like that. Whether it's either going to fire them on like it has for Denmark, or whether it's going to be a bit of a downer on the group because they're missing one of their key players. It's gonna be an interesting game. Like I said earlier, I think Italy do win this. I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but I think Spain I think Spain are going to make too many defensive mistakes and lose it on that.
As Vinska says, Yaya Toure was bang on. The backside is the most important bit of football.
Have we all read that article, by the way? It's fantastic.
Such a good article if anyone hasn't read it, by the way. It's almost worth £1 a month to go to The Athletic and get it. But 55% of the chat believe it's coming home. That was a poll result there. So there's confidence in there. Bear in mind there's quite a lot of Scots in here as well as English. It wasn't too biased. Right, I'll finish this side off with a quick score prediction then. Spain, Italy, how's it going to play out? And we'll move on to the England game after this.
I think 2-0 Italy. I hope Spain got through on penalties.
Heart and head situation everyone does.
Big brain TV.
Yeah. Like I'd rather face Spain out of these two as an England fan. I don't want to assume that we're going to beat Denmark, but like if we beat Denmark, I'd rather see Spain in the final because I think Italy are really, really good. I
was almost very clever there, Dan, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? Cover myself there. I think it's going to be, like I said earlier, I think there's going to be goals. I could see a 3-2 game. I think 3-2, and Spain are going to do themselves in with some horrific defensive mistake. I think they're going to go out because of a mistake rather than because Italy have been, really good.
I'm all for that. I'm all for seeing some defensive calamity, especially where the Italians celebrate their defence as well. If it's the other way around in the other foot. Entertainment is all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Not quite a Handanovic NBA kind of slam into his own goal, but give us a little bit of defensive calamity. And we'll move on to England-Denmark. Now, I have a slight confession to make at this point, given that I am joined by two people who are very much England supporters. I said at the round of 16 that Denmark were going to go the way to the final and beat England in the semi. So I've kind of got to stick with that. Now, I've dug myself in a hole and I can't get out of it. I think there's still a very decent chance here because the Danes, not only as a unit, similar to England, they're playing as a unit and they're playing brilliantly in their style and their formation. But slightly controversial take, Eriksen going out of the team and Damsgaard coming in's made them more dangerous. I feel like Damsgaard's given them a wee bit more kind of pace, a bit more youthful impetus. And I think that might have helped him in a weird way. Like, obviously, we'd never wish anything on anyone, but just purely in a football perspective, I think he's suited that formation and that style a wee bit more than what Christian Eriksen would have done. I
mean, firstly, Mozza, I just want to say we all make mistakes. The important thing is that you have just confessed to yours in front of 2,500 people. So well done. It's very big of you. Hopefully you grow from this going forward. I know you didn't take it back, but there's still time. We've still got 50 minutes.
I can't take it back. I've got money on it.
Right. I think Christian Eriksen is an amazing player, but I don't think he's at the peak of his powers. Damsgaard, a bit more pacey maybe. And I also think the Christian Eriksen situation really brought Denmark together.
Yeah.
And in tragedy, sometimes it can bring the best out of people, and everything that they went through. I mean, Christian Eriksen died on that football pitch, and now he's back, and I think that's the best thing to come out of all of this tournament. So ultimately, I think that's brought Denmark together, and I think a lot is people don't understand how far team spirit can take you. Denmark won it in 1992 with team spirit, not the best players, team spirit. Greece won it in 2004 with team spirit, not the best players, team spirit. Portugal won it in 2016. They've got a better team now than they had 5 years ago, and they won it with team spirit. They beat France in the final as well, I believe, and it was in France as well. So you can't knock how important team spirit is and how it can carry you, especially in these 1 month tournaments, and something like that to gel everyone together. And thank God Christian Eriksen's okay, because it has gelled everyone together. You know, onwards and upwards for them. There's no reason why they can't or they haven't performed as they have. But it's England. And whilst I don't think Denmark is poor. I think they're very good. I don't think England should be scared of them, though, just like I don't think we should have been scared of Ukraine. And I think Gareth Southgate is a man with a plan. And ultimately, I think that versatility will. And we've now got 2 formations that work. I've never seen this in a tournament play 2 different formations so well. And I think we'll be okay. Denmark, though, 100%, very dangerous team, can be very proud of what they've done. And if they get through to the final, if they beat us, they can be proud of that as well.
Do we think 4 or 5 at the back, Dan, in this game?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Obviously, like this just said, we've shown that we can play with a 5 at the back, we can play with a 4 at the back. I think if we want to imprint our play onto the Danes, we'll play with a back 4 and allow that kind of extra attacking player. But that being said, Mail has been fantastic. Stig Larsson has been fantastic as well in this tournament. I think if you want to nullify it and almost game manage the semi-final, then go with the back 5. Like how we played against Germany, just shut them down. Because I think if you take those wing backs out of the game, they've not got a load of creators in the center of the park. Damsgaard's been good, and I think, like you were saying earlier, I think Eriksen coming out of the team has almost made them play a little bit more, like spread their play a little bit more. Yeah. With him in the team, he is their fulcrum. Everything goes through him because he is their elite player. And I think him coming out of the team's made them spread the play a little bit more. It's brought the wing backs a bit more into the game. It's made Højbjerg and Thomas Delaney take a little bit more kind of attacking responsibility, and it's kind of spread their play a little bit more, I think. And I think with Eriksen in the side, I think they're a better side or capable of better play. But I think without him in the side, it forces them to be more of a unit, and it makes them a tougher side to play against. I think kind of obviously they've got the drive and things like to do it for Eriksen and what happened to him. But to solely put it down to, you know, mentality and squad and drive and want to win is a little disrespectful to the quality of this Danish side. Like I don't want to sleep on this Danish side. They got Schmeichel, Premier League winner, wonderful goalkeeper, one of the top 5 in the Premier League. You got Christensen in defence. He's a Champions League winner. You got Simon Kjær, who's had an elite career, still a fantastic player. You got Vestergaard, who's a very good defender, Premier League defender. Mail has been a standout. Delaney's fantastic. Højbjerg's fantastic. Stig Larsson stepped up. You've got players who can score goals and create at the top as well. Just to kind of think they're just doing this because of what happened to they've come together as a team. They've got a lot of drive for that. Is a dangerous thing to do because they've got very, very good footballers there. Just because they aren't made up of Champions League winners and Premier League winners and stuff, just because they're not all at that level doesn't mean that they're not all very good players. And I think you need to. I'd play, go back to your original question, I'd play a back 5 because of that, because it allows you to shut down their play a little bit more. And I think even when we play a back 5, we were ending up with a back 4 because of the way that kind of Walker and shift out to the right side. Yeah. So it allows you to have the best of both worlds, really. It allows you to have that extra man in attack and the extra man in defence. And I think the way that they have their wing back getting so high and affecting games, you saw with Mail, with the assist that he got yesterday, he is fantastic in the final third. He can put a really dangerous ball in behind a defence. And if they're playing Dolberg, a player who can find that space, you need to be able to defend that properly. And I think just matching up is probably the best move. In terms of who drops out for that the extra centre back spot, I'm not too sure who it would be. It'd probably be Sancho, or maybe Sancho stays in, or you know, I'm not too sure what the England lineup would be. Like I was saying earlier, they've got so many like-for-like changes and so many players that you don't have a drop in quality. It doesn't matter who plays; they're going to be good. It's just kind of going to be more indicative of how we want to play in the final third.
Yeah, I think. By the way, that meal outside of the foot cross was utter filth. Utter filth. This was such a good cross, especially when the commentator had literally just said, "Oh, he's not got a left foot." It's like, well, I don't need one.
Yeah. It's very Ricardo Quaresma, wasn't it?
It was very Quaresma. There's her name. Loved watching Quaresma. I think, it wouldn't surprise me to see Southgate go back 5. I kind of agree with you there, Dan. I think Mason Mount would maybe be the one to drop out, and you'd still have either Sancho or potentially Foden. Like, that's the kind of position it rotates, I feel like. So you have Sancho, Saka, Foden, one of those guys there, with Sterling being the other supporter to Kane. But if England set up with that back 5, you can try and nullify those wing backs with, like, as long as the wing backs are covering those guys, and you've still got a really solid foundation in the middle. So the thing is, with Southgate now, he's kind of earned the right to do whatever he wants in terms of praying for his opponents. And I think I still see people complaining before every England game about what he's doing and what team he's picking. I think now you basically need to say he's earned the right to do whatever he feels is the right thing to do. And whether it works or not, I think he's solidified his position in that dugout, hasn't he? He's not going anywhere, regardless of what happens in this game.
I think Germany was a turning point for Southgate because it showed he's tactically apt. Now, I've accused Southgate myself, and I will confess this. I feel like we should have been better, more free-flowing going football. But having watched this tournament, there are very few teams who are actually free-flowing going forward, etc., etc. Maybe international football's moved on, and I wasn't ready for it. What I will say is, in that Germany game, he switched to 5 at the back, but it wasn't 5 at the back. The wing backs were their average positions were actually in Germany's half at the end of the game. And ultimately, Germany's number one threat at the time was Gosens and Kimmich. And everyone was worried about that. The preview, people were saying that they were going to destroy us, etc., etc. But what he did was he gave them something to think about the other way. And by having Luke Shaw so high up, we literally played with a core of 5 in Walker, Stones, Maguire, Phillips, and Rice. And then everyone else was pressing going forward as high as possible. I think that's the exact template we used to beat Denmark. I think Maya is an amazing player. He really, really is. And I think you nullify him by giving him something to think about. So whereas Trippier had 2 crosses from the right, I think, for Harry Maguire, not a lot happened from that. But what he did do was he nullified Gosens just by being there.
Yeah. And that's the comparison. I think that's a really good comparison, that Gosens looked fantastic at times for Germany. He was their kind of threat going forward to set up anything that was going to be happening. England dealt with him, and Mela in a similar position. You'd think that that's going to stand them in good stead, and they'll maybe know how to deal with him. But given that England haven't conceded yet, where is the goal coming from Denmark? Because they're going to have to score at some point. Where's the weakness in this English side, do we think?
I think before the tournament, there was a lot of talk about how England are weak in defence. And I was the same. I think defensively, player by player, I was worried. We've not conceded yet, and looked really solid in defence. I still think there is a mistake in this England defence, though. But you go back to front, and I think whether we play a back 4 or a back 5, I think we're very solid all the way through. That double pivot, I'm not there's a lot of people fuming that we play a double pivot, whether it be a back 2 or a back 3. They've been really good, and I think people sleep on how good Calvin Phillips is at transitional play. He does that is Bielsa ball. Bielsa ball is transitional play. He's great at getting the ball and making that quick 2-beat pass straight up the pitch, getting into feet, getting it into the players who can change the game higher up there. So I have no issue in that. And he's a really, really good in defense. Him and Rice have shown that they've got a really good understanding of each other. One goes, one stays. Whoever presses out wide, kind of, the other covers the center of the park. So I think even if we do go with the back 5 and don't look to do the same thing we did against Germany, I think those 2 in front are going to shut down the middle of the park. and then you just kind of got to worry about their wing backs. I think if I was doing it, I'd go for that same kind of shut down the flanks and play through the middle like they did against Germany. Like obviously we can affect the game with our wing backs, but the playing a 5 at the back is more about shutting down their creative outlet on the wings, which is where a lot of the Danish plays come through. If you force it inside, you're forcing Højbjerg and Delaney, who are more, I don't want to kind of like put them down as just workmen like midfielders. They're very good footballers, but they're not, they don't have a Christian Eriksen in the middle of the park. They don't have that creator from the middle of the park who's going to find that killer pass, find that killer ball. Damsgaard has been very good. He's been impressive, and he's really stepped up into that gap. But he's not an elite attacking midfielder. Like he's not going to find those little free balls. A lot of the play has been from set pieces. A lot of the play has been from out wide with Mailer or like I say corners and things for the Danes. And I think if you shut that down, you force them to try and create with players who aren't that creative, and you give the players that in that England team that are very creative in the centre, and we just give ourselves a really good chance of beating them on a matchup rather than trying to force them to think about us. We can go, all right, well, we're just going to shut down what you do well, and we're going to hurt you with the players that we've got that are better in the positions where you're weak. In terms of where you can be got at as England, like I say, I think defensively, there is always the opportunity of a mistake. Harry Maguire can be slow to turn around. John Stones can dwell on the ball a little bit, even though they both seem to have knocked that out of the game for this in the England tournament. This is the best performance from both of them that I can. Like John Stones had a fantastic season at Man City. He's been brilliant all tournament. Harry Maguire has looked like the Harry Maguire that Man United paid 80 million quid for. He grew into he was very good his first season at Man United. I think he was good second half of the season. But he's not only been good in defense, he's also been good as a leader. Like you saw the goal, like you saw his celebrations the other day against Germany. He was leading with his performance. Like he was taking control of the game, taking control of situations, driving people on, giving his teammate, like shouting at his teammates for not being there for a pass. Like I think he's as driven as anyone to win. And I think him playing like that is he's up there with some of the best defenders around. So long answer short, there's not many weaknesses in the England squad other than mistakes, and hopefully we don't see any of them.
Yeah, I think the fact you brought up set pieces is interesting because I think Denmark's had a lot of success with those so far, and that's the one way that I'd maybe see of being able to get at England. If you look at the Scotland game, for example, Scotland's chances came for set pieces, generally corners, free kicks, and Lyndon Dykes is never an international quality striker, but he gave the English defence issues just pure physicality wise. If you look at that first goal the Danish scored against the Czechs, Thomas Delaney just really intelligent movement in the box, put the header away. I think that's where England really need to be careful because Denmark are very solid at the back as well. You do not want to go behind against them and give yourself work to do, especially if you're playing a double pivot. That the situation hasn't happened yet that England have had to come back from behind because they've not conceded. It might change things. And then suddenly you're in unknown territory that you're having to basically loosen up on a defence, and anything can happen at that point, right? So I think England's secret to success here is keeping things tight and continuing to keep clean sheets, I would say.
I mean, yeah. The Scotland game, I think Scotland had 2 shots on target throughout that whole game. So, and that was without Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
I do believe Harry Maguire come back in changes the game a little bit. I really do. And I think that's where England are really blessed. We've got so many captains in the squad. Jordan Henderson, Harry Kane, Jack Grealish, Harry Maguire, just to name 4 of them. And then other players within that squad have captained their clubs. So we are blessed in that we've got leaders. Yes, we do need to focus on the set pieces. Set pieces is obviously huge in relation to that. But I do think we'll be okay. And you can only go by what's already happened. And I don't think there's been real moments where we've been hanging on throughout the whole tournament so far. And yes, we've had a favourable route to the tournament, but we have still played Croatia, who knocked us out of the World Cup 3 years ago. Croatia, a very good team, an ageing team, but a very good team. Czech Republic, very good team. We beat them 1-0. Scotland, we drew 0-0. You know, a local
You're
rival.
allowed to call us a very good team there as well, Does like you did the rest.
No, it's true though, isn't it? But like Germany as well, like Germany are a very good team, although probably the end of a cycle as well.
Yeah.
That by the way, Mozza, that might have been on purpose. But my point is, we've found different ways to shut teams down, and like I say, we're just improving this tournament. Our best players are starting to perform. Our creativity is starting to get there. Like yesterday, we were very creative. You know, there were several opportunities we had to score even before we scored, or not even in between the goals. I just think I think we've got our leaders on the pitch, which will make a massive difference in relation to set pieces, and we've yet to concede. Let's remember that we're yet to concede, and I think the whole argument of, oh, let's see what happens when they do concede. I mean, if we go the whole tournament without conceding, we won't have to worry, will we?
Well, that's the thing. If you don't concede, you're not going to have any issues unless it's penalties. And maybe I shouldn't have used the word penalties there to bring back some PTSD. But again, I don't think this England team, like previous ones, are going to have that mental block with penalties. That they just seem so assured and confident in themselves that they're not going to go up thinking, "Oh God, here we go." You know, it's. I genuinely think they'd be fine when it comes to a penalty shootout as well.
I think a lot of demons have been exercised over the last kind of 5 or 6 years with England. Obviously, we won a penalty shootout in a World Cup, like so we've kind of done that. We've beaten the Germans in a knockout, like we've done that, and there's a lot of things that have been like not necessarily hanging over people's heads, but it's just almost been like the joke of the England national team. It's like, oh, we don't beat Germany, and you don't beat the Germans in the knockout. We don't win penalty shootouts. We've done that. And like I was saying earlier, this is a new group of players. It's a new group of players who haven't been saddled with those kind of disappointments in the past. Going back to what you're saying, like the only time that we've really looked like we've been worried is when we played Scotland. And you guys turn into Brazil when you play against England. So like, you save all your performances for that. But like I said, that's really the only game where we've looked shaky, where we didn't look in control. Because even against Germany, I think we came out of the block slowly, but we constantly grew into the game. By the end of the game, we were in control. There was obviously like a couple of chances that Germany didn't take. But it felt like it was always a game that England were in control of, and it was the same last night. It was the same in the other games in the group stage. Like England, whilst not being free flowing, attacking, 5 players in the box at all times, we're in control of the games. Defensively solid, scoring a goal. If you don't concede, you aren't going to lose. It's the old maxim of, goals win your games, but defenses win your titles. Like that's very, very true. And you see it in previous World Cups. You see it in, in previous Euros. You see it in leagues. You see it all the time. Like, and defensively, the numbers don't lie. England have been the best defensive side. Not only have we had good defenders playing well and stepping up, but Jordan Pickford looks like a different player when he puts on an England jersey. He had a little bit of a rick when he tried to sweep up a ball yesterday, but other than that, he's been really good. He's been claiming balls, he's been claiming crosses, he's been making good saves. So when there is that opportunity for an opposition, he's looked like a good last line of defense. Hopefully it carries on. Hopefully we manage to shut out Denmark. And I think, like I say, if we play that blocking game where we just try and shut down their most creative areas, I think England win it purely on the quality of the players in where the ball's going to be. I think England have got a better midfield. They've got better strikers. So I think they win it on pure player quality if you play in that shutdown game. But if you want to take the game to them and imprint your way of playing or England's way of playing, play that back four, play them with a front four, then I think we're still going to be defensively solid, but just have more game effectors on the pitch and take the game away from them. I kind of want to see the back five. I want Gareth Southgate to lean into this pragmatic England, just to annoy people, really, more than anything, because I love watching it, and I love watching people get really angry that Jack Grealish isn't in the side. I want him to not even put Jack Grealish in the squad. Like, leave him at the training complex, leave it, and get him nowhere near the pitch, just to wind people up.
Italy's moved away from being Italy. England can be the new Italy. Pragmatism is number one.
Oh yeah, let's go.
It's funny you mentioned Pickford because I still feel like there's a mistake in there as well. That's a wee niggling doubt I've got about him that he gets a bit excited, it feels like at times, and instead of just doing the simple thing, but you saw with his attempted volley that luckily for him didn't go anywhere. At that point the game was basically in hand anyway, but yeah, I don't know, there's still that little bit of madcap about him that makes him entertaining to watch, but at the same time, if he's your goalkeeper you might think, oh don't do that.
I think he's been this tournament he's kind of like put that to bed a little bit. He's looked a lot more assured, a lot more calm. Like it surprised me in those first couple of games. He just looked more of a calming, controlled influence. Whereas in the past, I agree, like he suffered from the same thing as Joe Hart, where he just seems to get almost too into the game, and that's detrimental for a goalkeeper. Like you can be animated and aggressive. Like you look at Peter Schmeichel, he was the poster boy for it, and Oliver Kahn was the same, but still you had utmost confidence in them in situations. And through history, you look at the elite goalkeepers, and you're looking at players like Van der Sar, who is just that calm head, keeps everything in control. And Pickford hasn't been that. Joe Hart wasn't that. But he seems like he's taken a step back. He's sorted out his mentality. He's a little bit more controlled in his mentality. And I think his performances have improved because of that.
So just a final thought then on, like, we've gone quite deep now into England. I think we should maybe touch on Denmark just for the last bit before we round off and move on. So, the thing with the Danes, and I'm looking at like this potential matchup, they've got a lot of neutral love behind them, obviously, with the circumstances. Whether that helps them or not, we'll wait and see. The issue that they're going to have now is they're going into Wembley, and Wembley is basically going to be full at this point. It will be full for the final, but like you heard how loud it was in that Germany game. Like, it's a semi-final of a Euros. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere. So everything's against them in a way, but they're the kind of team that they've reacted well to adversity already in this tournament. And every side in the semis, you could say this for, has had a stinker at some point. England had it against Scotland, Italy against Austria. The Danes, obviously, you can't really count the first game, but the second game, they didn't really turn up the way they can. And Spain have had a couple, to be honest. But the one thing in Denmark's favour, I would say, is not just that they do have a very talented team and they've got a set way of playing and they know their roles. They've got the ability to build this, everyone's against us now. Everything's against us. Let's show what we're capable of. And they've done it before, so I think they're dangerous that way. That if they score the first goal, it could be a very long day for England, I think.
I think the pressure's off Denmark, if I'm honest. Nobody expected them to get this far.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expected them to then. No one expects them to beat England. Nobody expects them to beat England in front of 60,000, or what is likely to be 60,000 Englishmen at Wembley. And then I think you've also got to look at that crowd effect that it can have on England. A lot of these players are young. A lot of these players haven't played in front of 60,000 people, or at least for 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
That pressure could have a negative effect. We don't know yet because this is a very young England team. We'll see how it is going forward and we'll see how they react to that. But I think Denmark can come in kind of like a free hit. They can just express themselves however they want to express themselves, because if I'm honest with you, and once again, this isn't being overly cocky, and you got to remember the fact that Denmark beat us, what was it, within the last year, 1-0, I think it was. I think Harry Maguire got sent off. But I do think that there's a lot of people who are discounting Denmark, me probably being one of them. And I think ultimately they can come in with a free hit. And we've seen upsets happen before. Like I said, Greece beating Portugal in the final in Portugal. Portugal beating France in France. There's no reason why they can't come to Wembley and do the same to us. We have to be on it. England have to be on it. Sorry, I'm saying we, Mozza. But England really have to be on it. And they have to make sure that the things that won't affect Denmark or that give Denmark a free hit don't affect us.
my job here is purely to limit their uses of it's coming home, so don't worry, you can say what you want.
It's coming home. It's coming. I've not said it yet today. I wanted to end with it, but you've dropped it there, so I have to.
I've stolen it from you. Yeah, I'll give you a final word, Dan, and then we'll get some predictions on the board.
Yeah, well, like I was saying earlier, I think you sleep on Denmark at your own risk. I think they've got fantastic players who can hurt you, as they've shown throughout the tournament. And you factor in the fact that they are kind of they're together in their desires to win. Like they've been galvanized over what's happened to them, and they've played some good football. You know, they're very good players playing good football. I think, like I say, I think England are the favourites and are rightly so, but like it's not going to be as easy a game as I think some people think it's going to be. They can hurt you, like you said. If they go one up, they're going to be really hard to get a goal against because they can be defensively very solid. They play a similar kind of system as to England do when they play a back five. They've got a really solid double pivot in front of that defense. Breaking that down will be very tough if you're chasing the game and they can pick you off on the counter. But England haven't conceded first. They haven't had to do that because they've been so good defensively. I think England win, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. It should be a very interesting game. I've kind of got a dog in the race as well. Like I'm a bit of an adopted Dane as well. So if the Danes win, then I'll just be supporting them in the final. But you know, it goes without saying, I hope England win. I don't know. I just being an England fan, I'm used to heartbreak, and I'm almost preempting it.
It's been funny to see. There's definitely been an attitude change, I feel like, from Russia. It felt like there was a bit of an arrogance about it. This time it feels like generally there's a kind of appreciation from England fans of what's happening. And there's a lot more of a kind of humble vibe to it. There's not, oh, we're just going to go and beat them and show disrespect. It's almost mirroring what Southgate's doing. He's given every opponent the respect they deserve, and that's why England have been so good, ultimately.
I think what it is in the past, we've always known that we're not going to win. So you've almost kind of got to like bullishly kind of use like false arrogance to try and like pull yourself through it. Like, oh, of course we're going to win this. We're going to do this and this and this, knowing that you're going to get knocked out by Iceland. You know, like because that's what England do. Whereas now I think it's like when we're able to think, well, we've actually got quite a good squad. We've got a manager who actually shows that he kind of knows what he's doing. Everyone's playing well. We've not conceded a goal. Harry Kane started scoring now. It's like, oh, we've kind of got a chance to win there. Let's just take a step back and calm down a little bit because we don't have to pretend anymore.
Right then, predictions on the board, and I'll let you have your wee final word there as well. So you're going to make a point.
Yeah, so I think the team mirrors, and I think the country is kind of mirroring Gareth Southgate, and I think we're very lucky to have such a nice person and such a good manager in charge of England, and I think it makes a massive difference to the development of these young players. The only mistake I think he's made is one when he put Mason Greenwood in front of the press last year. And I don't know whether that was his decision. I don't know how that press stuff works, to be fair, but I think that's the only mistake I can remember. But I think he's such a nice person and such a humble person, and I think that is massive for England as a whole. And I think in 2018, to be honest with you, we didn't play very good. Whereas now we've moved on since then, and I think our players are so much better. What do I think the final score is going to be? I think we stifle them. I think it's going to be. I think Dan's right. Unfortunately, I don't have the luxury because India aren't in the European Championships, so I can't go with Denmark winning. I do think it will be a 1-0 win. I think we will stifle them and we'll get a goal post 65, 70 minutes.
Okay, a very specific prediction there. Dan?
I think it's going to be. I think it's like I said earlier. I think it's going to be a very close game, closer than most people think. I think 1-0, 2-0 England. I think it's going to. I think I'll go 2-0. I think England are going to score either at the end of the first half or the start of the second, and it's going to make Denmark come out a little bit, and we'll pick them off on the counter. So I think 2-0 with a solid performance, kind of like we did against Germany.
Right, somebody hit the NWO music because I'm going heel. Denmark are winning this game. It's a very specific prediction. It probably won't happen, but I'm going to go for it just in case it does, and then I can claim it I called. I think Denmark score the first goal. And I think because of that, England are put in a position of not being in this tournament, and the fans get on their back, and it's just not an ideal situation whatsoever. I can just see it if Denmark score early in the second half after a goalless first half, that things go wrong. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say Denmark 1-0. But if England score first, they win. Simple as that. That's the way I see it. Anyway.
First goal is massive. I think the team who scores the first goal wins because they're both solid defensively. They've both got good keepers and good defenses. I think whoever scores first just then gets the second goal on the counter, which is why I went with 2-0 for England. But I could easily see it being the same for Denmark.
Sorry, Gashead, I've just seen you. I've been so nice about England the whole time because I've genuinely been impressed. But yeah, let's move on swiftly before I get everyone leaving us. I do have some talking points queued up because we have 20 minutes left of our time this morning. So let's start with the Golden Boot race because that's changed quite significantly the last couple of days. Somehow Cristiano Ronaldo is still in the lead, having gone out in the round of 16 with 5 goals and an assist. The assist being the tiebreaker. So there's basically 3 players left that look realistically able to give him a shot and take the trophy off him. Raheem Sterling, 3 goals, 1 assist. Harry Kane's now on 3 goals without an assist. And Kasper Dolberg is also on 3 goals with no assist. Italy and Spain don't have anyone on 3 goals. So there would need to be hat-tricks essentially going on. But do we think Cristiano holds on to that? Or do we think Sterling, Kane or Dolberg maybe pip him to it?
I think Kane. I think Kane's coming of age. I think he'll get 2 or 3 more goals in the rest of the tournament. I really, really do. I have a lot of faith in Harry Kane. I don't like this new role where he drops off so much, which I don't think anybody does, to be honest with you. But it works for him, and I think we've built around that to an extent. And yesterday shows he can still be effective. I genuinely think. I think he's 2 goals away from being the outright leading English tournament goal scorer. Which I think is currently held by Gary Lineker or Michael Owen, one of the two. And I think he will do it in front of the home fans. I do think we have 2 games left. I genuinely believe that. And I'm sorry if that comes across as arrogant. I just think when you look at the teams, we should be confident of beating Denmark. So I think Harry Kane
is arrogant. I don't think. I think it's just you've kind of made your point as to why you believe it, and there's reason to have that confidence. So I think that's fair enough. Yeah. By the way, the person that said about Schick can't now do it because Cristiano got him in the goals in the tiebreaker, basically. So that's why I've not included him in this conversation. Don't worry, I've not forgotten him. Anyone that's checked that's watching. What are your thoughts, Dan?
Kind of the same to Diz, to be honest. I think if anyone's going to do it, it'll be Kane. He's a guy that's... I was calling for him to be dropped after the first couple of games. I thought he looked sluggish, looked not disinterested, but just didn't look on it. I didn't know whether he was injured or what, but he just wasn't playing well. Second half of the last game, he turned it on. He started to find his form, find his feet, find the space, and affect the game. Obviously got his goal. 2 goals yesterday. I thought he had a really good performance. Yeah, I think if anyone's going to do it, it'll be him. I could see Raheem maybe getting another goal, but I think that front line are adapting to each other a little bit more. They're getting a little bit more used to how each other play. It's felt like a bit like Kane wasn't sure where he was supposed to be in attacking situations at the start of the tournament. And I think it's more he is still dropping deep and linking play and creating, but he is more happy being that guy in the box, being that goal scorer. And you know, anyone who's watched Kane play football for a long period of time, he's a very good finisher. He's great at finding that little yard of space and getting the ball in the back of the net. So I could see him, like Diz says, I could see him getting another couple of goals. I could see him getting a couple of goals and a couple of assists even, and kind of getting the golden boot again, because he got the golden boot at the last World Cup, didn't he, I think?
Yeah, that's it. He's got one in the cabinet already, doesn't he? By the way, Dupe, thank you so much for the big host there as well, my friend. Welcome on in. And everyone that's came over with Dupe, welcome. Yeah, I think my understanding is they would share the award as well if anyone's level. They don't go to games played or anything like that. It's not that deep. It's just a you scored loads of goals, you have an award type situation. Harry Kane, I think I agree with you, is the one. Dolberg, as good as he's been, even if Denmark win this, I don't see him getting 3 goals or 2 goals and an assist in the last couple of games. I think Kane now, you could see the difference in him as soon as he scored the first goal against Ukraine, that instead of dropping deep, he was beginning to stay up a wee bit more because he had that confidence and he just wanted goals. Like, the thing that summed Kane up was, see that left-footed volley he took on? And he wouldn't have taken that a couple of games ago. That would have been bring it down, try and find a pass. You can tell he's just buzzing with confidence now, and he almost scored the goal of the tournament at that point. Sorry, Patrick Schick. I'm trying to forget you scored that one, but
I'm sure you're trying to forget that quite quite hard as well.
I don't know what goal you're talking about as much as Mark Keoghan trying to mention.
There's the halfway line over the keeper, just to remind you.
So Milano was taken. Spinazzola is officially out of the tournament. I'm afraid if you've missed the news there that he's actually for 6 months. It's quite a bad injury he got, sadly, given that he's been so good. Ronaldo has scored pens, but for the goal, but it doesn't matter how you get your goals. He's certainly not scored free kicks. But we'll leave that debate for another day.
Which actually is a reminder, I don't think there's been a free kick goal in this whole tournament, which is madness.
You've got to think that's going to change the next 3 games. Surely there's got to be at least one direct free kick scored.
I mean,
it's going to be against England, isn't it? It's going to be 1-0. Oh, I just realised.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought that up. My bad.
The other thing is, technically, own goals won the Golden Boot already. There's been 10 of them now, more than any other tournament combined, I think. The last I checked.
There's been more own goals this tournament than there has been in the entire history of European competitions in the past. It's quite the start.
It's mad, isn't it? And there's no real reason for it either. It's just one of these bizarre things that's came up. But this has been a great tournament for
Portugal. When they played Germany, Portugal scored four goals and lost 4-2.
This is more of a general one, so I'll throw it to both of you. I'll go to yourself, Diz, firstly. Your player of the tournament so far?
Okay, so I'm not biased. I'm going to go Luke Shaw. I think he's created the most chances. I think he's pivotal. I think he's been a proper standout player in the tournament anyway. I think yesterday kind of capped his Euros performance so far. So, yes, I know I'm English. Yes, I'm a Man United fan, but I feel like Luke Shaw has shown on the world stage that he's probably one of the best left backs in the world. And I'm really, really happy for him because of what he's had to go through to prove that. So I think Luke Shaw has been a massive shout for being one of the players of the tournament.
I think that's pretty fair. Don't think anyone can argue that at all. How about yourself, Dan?
It's hard to disagree with the Luke Shaw pick. He's been obviously didn't start the first game, but I think in every game he's played, he's been very good. Created tons of chances. He's been instrumental in England's victories the last couple of games. He's been very, very good. I feel like I have to go for a different player though, just because I've kind of got to. And I think I'm probably going to go with Chiellini. I think even though he's really old, really slow, he's just a phenomenal defender. I mean, it could have been either Chiellini or Bonucci for me because they are the rock that Italy builds off. Yeah. And as good as any other defender has been, I mean, Harry Maguire's been great in the last few games as well. But I think Chiellini, even though he missed that game, I think he's obviously a leader on the pitch, elite defender, and I think he's one of those players that is a generational talent and has been fantastic for a very, very long time. But like I say, I'd probably go with Luke Shaw as well, but I just feel like I've got to go for someone else.
Unfortunately, someone's just stolen my pick in the chat. I was going to say Pedri, but Gashead got there ahead of me in the chat, so it looks like I'm now stealing your answer, mate. Pedri's been ridiculous, and Dan's mentioned him earlier on actually a couple of times, that just the fact he's 18 and he's phenomenal. He's very Iniesta-like, which was a comparison you made, Dan, wasn't it? That he can see the pass before he gets the ball. He's 2 steps ahead mentally. For a young kid to be at that level is scary. Really scary.
He's got 1 year of like top level football as well. Like he's not a player that's come through the Barcelona academy. He's a player that Barcelona saw playing in the 3rd tier, I think it was.
Yeah.
In Spain. and they signed him, put him straight in the first team. He's been phenomenal, and I'd say that he's almost the kind of the standout performer in terms of arriving on like the international scene. I don't think he's been the best player in the tournament, but he's definitely been probably the most surprising, just due to how good he's been for such a young player at such a young age. He is like I said earlier, like you just said there, like he's quite Iniesta-esque in that he can beat the press, get beyond a man, but not only that, he knows what he's going to do once he's beaten the man. And some of his passing play, some of his movement has been just out of this world. I'm really excited about watching this kid play for the next decade.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's going to be one of the big ones. Like, we've been through the Xavi and Iniesta years. I think he's the next heir to the throne, so to speak. And then, kind of tied into this, the unknown/surprise player of the tournament so far. So someone that's really kind of shocked you or proven you wrong, I guess, would be the easiest way to sum this one up. Let's go Dan first this time.
I'd say surprise of the tournament, just purely because I didn't really know much about him previously, is Mæhle for Denmark. Been fantastic player. Created loads of chances. He's been up and down, and considering the fact that he's usually a right back as well, I think he's had one of the standout tournaments. And I think he's the danger man in that Danish side that you need to shut down. So he's been really good. I think Luke Shaw, even though he had a good last season for Man United, I think he's really kind of proven himself on the international stage and really kind of shown how good he is. And why not go for a triumvirate of left backs, and we'll go with Spinazzola for a player that I've not really seen a whole lot of, but he was brilliant. And I'm actually gutted for him that he's out of the tournament now.
Go on then, Daz. What do you reckon?
I'm just going to go with the one. I'm going to go Schick. I think, 5 goals in an international tournament, playing for Bayer Leverkusen. I don't think a lot of people would have rated him before this. I think this tournament he's really come of age. There's talk that he might get a move to a bigger club. No disrespect to Bayer Leverkusen. I always feel like I have to say that when I say terms like bigger clubs and stuff like that. So that's being a small streamer. I'm a small streamer, so Bayer Leverkusen, I understand. But yeah, for me, I genuinely think that Schick has had a heck of a tournament. He's averaged 7.58 on a Salford score, scored 5 goals, scored a goal a game pretty much. I think he's done very, very well.
I think mine's just going to be a little bit out of left field, and it's because I paid a lot of attention to Ukraine through the tournament, having spoken to Andrew Todos pre-tournament about them. I loved the look of Yaremchuk up front, who's playing for Genk, I believe, just now. Wasn't aware of him at all, but he looks just a brilliant, big, strong, all-round striker, and he's guaranteed a move, I think, after this tournament with how good he's been. Some great shouts in chat as well. I've seen Doku coming up. He only really had the one big game in the quarters. He's been on and off, like off the bench, but he looked really good. Damsgaard's came up. There's been a lot of guys. Kiefer Moore's actually a really good shout there from Gashead as well. That he was outstanding for Wales when he was playing up front as the kind of big target man. And Shalai there as well is the other one Katie's mentioning. So it's been one of those tournaments that a lot of players have shined, and it's probably because, unlike World Cups where you get like just teams sitting back and defending, I can only really think of Sweden doing that against Spain. Every other game, pretty much both sides have had a go, and it's allowed players to show what they're all about, I think.
Speaking of Spain, of Sweden, sorry, Alexander Isak, he was brilliant. He had a great tournament as well.
Dumfries as well.
Dumfries
was.
I think there's a lot of players who've really stood up and shone in this tournament, and I could see a lot of players. Maybe, I mean, it's always dangerous making a move off one tournament, but I can see a lot of players being looked at by other teams, like teams that are like that would be a next step. Dumfries is a perfect example. I think he had a great tournament, and he'd be a really good signing for a lot of big clubs.
I believe Dumfries has got a less than 20 million release clause in his contract as well.
12, 13 million or something.
Yeah, so it's just a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isaac now has a different one because Sociedad instantly got him a new deal, I saw as well. So he's suddenly lost that buyback for Dortmund, which they're going to make some money off of him, clearly. That's why that contract's been done. Xhaka is also a fair shout as well as a surprise player, a guy that I've not given a lot of praise to be honest, but he didn't play the way he plays for Arsenal. He's a lot more forward thinking when he plays internationally. Like, he always looks to put his passes to a forward player. He doesn't really go sideways. Unlike with Arsenal, it feels like he's told to do that in a way. But let's not get too far into slagging off Mikel Arteta when it's not the Euro, shall we?
I'll never stop.
I mean, I've got plenty of fuel for that if you want me to.
Right, because we only have 5 minutes remaining, something along those lines, let's get into the winner. Who's going to win this and why? Put your necks on the line.
Okay, I'll go first. And I'm going to say England. And I'm going to say it's coming home. And I'm going to say that's the reason why, because it's coming home. No. In all honesty, I think England are on the up. I think if England get past Denmark, they most likely play Italy. I think Italy will be a tough game as well. But ultimately, I think England are on the up. They're playing better. We've got massive strength in depth, which I've never seen before. We're technically very good. And I think we are now, obviously, after the first 2 games, on reflection, we are very lucky to have Gareth Southgate as manager, who seems to have grown considerably over the last 3 years.
So we've got one for England. Dan, are you going to follow suit?
Yeah. Because it's coming out, isn't it? I was basically going to say the exact same thing that Diz said. Yeah, I think England. I think it's Italy. I think Italy-England final is the most likely. I think if Spain win, I think England, if they can get past Denmark, will beat them. I think it's a tight game. It'd be a really close game. But as someone said in the chat earlier, I think the deciding factor could be the fact that it's at Wembley. I think like it's essentially going to be, if we can get there, a home final. And England are a really good squad, really good team, really good players who can change the game. We've got a good defense, good attack. We've got a manager who actually seems to. I've been the biggest critic of Gareth Southgate over the past few years. In this tournament, he's done really well. Like, I think he had some questionable squad decisions and substitution decisions in the first couple of games. But the last couple of games, he's just made the right choices and the right substitutions, the right tactical decisions. And I think he'd do the same against Italy. I think we wouldn't necessarily take the game to them, but I think we'd take the game away from them. And I think we'd win.
There is a couple of people in chat, including this gentleman here, who's a bit upset with the nonsense I'm talking, apparently. Italy are going to win this tournament. And Italy are going to beat Denmark in the final. There's my prediction. It's definitely not going to happen now. I've got mixed results with these predictions because I tend to put a little kind of curveball in most of them for the fun of it. But no, Italy's the one team, I think, that would give all 3 of the other teams sleepless nights. I think. Like, I don't see Italy being scared of England because they're well used to that style of football. They keep things tight to the back. They know how to break it down. That is Italian football, essentially. And I just think they've got a little bit more as a collective than England do. It would be a toss of a coin in a final. I just feel that Italy's got more of a chance of taking it if it is Italy-England. And I think they would beat Denmark in a final as well. So there you go. You can throw your abuse at me for the last 2 minutes, folks. If you are
blind loyalty on my side, saying England as well. Like if I was looking at it objectively, I'd probably say Italy, but I've got to say England.
I mean, I'm just going to
coming home.
I'm just going to say that we started this conversation with you being wrong, Mozza, and I love the fact that we're ending with it with you being wrong. Consistency is key, my friend, and you are consistent.
I pride myself in my consistent, terrible opinions. So we will no doubt revisit these at some point. But before we finish up, gents, can I ask you to share with everyone where they can find you and basically when they can find you as well?
Yeah, so I have just recently rebranded, and by recently, I mean this morning. And I am Mr. Diz TV on everything now. I am Mr. Diz TV on everything, on Twitter, on YouTube, on TikTok. I love TikTok. It's a bit bare at the minute, but yeah, I'm Mr. Diz TV. I do football analysis. Just follow me, and I'll update my schedule accordingly on Twitter.
And yourself, Dan?
Yeah, you can find me Viking Dan. Most places. Put it in the Google machine and you'll find me, no doubt. But yeah, I play Football Manager. I also do football analysis. I'm actually going to be live this evening doing a bit of a weekend roundup and a look into things to come. But yeah, so you can catch me there from 8 tonight, and usually 8 o'clock in the evenings, shouting at little dots on a screen playing Football Manager.
Cam, if I could ask you a wee favour, mate, if you could drop Dan and Diz's channels in the chat for the shout outs as well. Drop these guys a follow, because all of us are on the Touch Sports programme side of things, so you'll be seeing a lot of sports talk going forward from us all, as well as Football Manager, as well as basically anything to do with football, let's be honest. But two guys that I watch all the time, fantastic streamers, and thank you very much for spending your mornings with me as well, even though one of you might be slightly tender after last night.
Big evening of celebrations.
We won't dwell on it. But guys, I've not been able to keep up with all the follows, so thank you so much. I know we've been on front page all morning, so I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've found us for the first time, please do come back. Really appreciate you spending some of your morning with us, no matter how long it was. We are going to go and raid someone else who is on the sports side of things, so we'll keep this trainer rolling, as they say. Give me 2 seconds and we will see who's on. I can hear a few more follows coming through as well, so thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. We're going to go and see Pondon, who I believe is also doing a little bit of sports chat at the minute, so I just need to remember the fact he's got an underscore in there. And I will next be live with Football Chat on Tuesday morning. We'll have a wee quarter-final preview at that point. Again, it will probably be quite biased towards England, I'd imagine, because we've got RNA coming on with it, who is... Oh, wait a minute. I've done the wrong raid command, so I need to chat a wee bit longer. But he is a guy who does all the England watch-alongs as well. So make sure you check it down tonight. It's the other thing I'd say, given that he's giving you a wee bit of analysis. Probably going to be more than ITV are going to give you. Like, focused on Saka's GCSEs and whatever else is coming out of the lion's den, as they call it.
We'll be doing a tactical deep dive tonight, so it should be fun. Deep dive
indeed. But again, thank you very much for watching, folks. Enjoy the games today. Good luck, England. Good luck, Denmark. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.